How's it going, BookTube? Welcome back. Welcome to my channel. Let's talk about the books that I read in the month of January. 3.6 star average rating. I would say that's pretty good. Usually I'm throwing out 5 stars like it's candy. But now I'm putting on my critical thinking hat because I've read a lot of books. I read 47 books last year, so I have a lot to compare books to and kind of feel out books to know, do I really want to give this book 5 stars or is it a 4.5? What makes a book 5 stars to me? That is a book where I would not change literally a single part about it at all. I haven't had a 5 star yet this year, but that's okay. The year is young. This is literally one of 12. I consumed 5 books in a week and I read 5 books in the month of January. I just couldn't stop reading. I don't know what it was. There was something in the air, and I think it was, your reading slump just ended, let's read everything in sight, and that's what I did. The first one I want to talk about is Iron Flame. So there's this little thing called delusion, and my delusion was cranked all the way to the part of delusion can be cranked, and told me that I would survive this book. Weird. But there's a point in fantasy books where you go, okay, this is where my character would be gone, unalived, no more. This part of that book never happened. It literally never happened. It just never checked into the hotel. So I'm never checking out of this book because my character would have survived. That's what my delusion is telling me. This book is not without its action and intense scenes. Let's think about this logically. Would we actually survive? I'm not surviving this fantasy book. I'm not surviving this fantasy world. Fourth Wing, literally the very first one, the Par Pit, catch me falling off the side. But for whatever reason, we make it through book 2. What? Yeah, the next step is Onyx Storm. I don't know if I'm ready for that one. Next we have Gallows Hill. And that whole, oh, delusion, let's survive a book. I'm tapping out page 1 on this one. There's no way. There's literally no way. Okay? Absolutely not. Because for me, haunted houses, negative. Scary movies, negative. But this book, for some reason I read it. The fact that I even read it, round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. I would like to thank my book club for picking this book and getting me to read a horror book genre because it wouldn't have happened. It's actually the section of Barnes & Noble that I purposely avoid. But now I'm actually going to be approaching that section of Barnes & Noble, and I already have. I already picked up another book from this genre, same author. So, character arc is arcing. Some backstory here. Margot inherits a winery when her parents pass away. Now, Margot is thinking free wine for life, you know, except the winery is haunted. That's where I dip. That's where I'm gone. That's where I put the car in reverse and back it all the way home if that's the only way to get out of that book. The writing of this book, good. The plot, twisted. The characters, eerie. The curse, no way. The curse, I'm sprinting away so fast, it's gonna be discovered that people can fly because that's how fast I'm running away from this book. By the time I got to the end, I'm thinking, how is this gonna end? There's no way. Someone's gone. What's gonna happen with this book? The ending was very anticlimactic. So then, full circle moment, I'm thinking I could have survived this book. And I'm going to tap into my delusion right now and tell it, no way. Absolutely not. It's not going to happen for me. It's not in the cards. It's not in my 2025 bingo card to live out this book. All in all, I think it's a great intro book into this genre. This book. This is the conversation I had with this book when I started reading it. Where have you been? Shout out Mrs. Weasley. She's an icon. This is a reenactment of me at Barnes & Noble with this book. Oh, this book looks interesting. Let me read it. Okay. Kept walking. Past it. Every time. Eye contact, though. Lots of eye contact made with this book in the store. And then I finally bought it, and I read it in a day. Absolutely loved it. This was my first Sophie Lark book. Truly never met a character more unhinged than the FMC in this book. She did some things. And I was like, there's no way. So Ada is the FMC. She's the youngest of the Gallows, the Italian mafia family in Chicago. And then Callum is the MMC. He's the heir of the Griffins, which is the Irish mafia family in the Chicago. They hate each other. Oh my gosh, do they freaking hate each other. And I loved it. Because I love an enemies to lovers that is true enemies. Not the, oh my gosh, he made the coffee pot go cold at work. And then I hated him. And then we're enemies. Scratch that. That is not enemies. This is enemies right here. I think this is a book that needs to be experienced organically. There's a lot of moments where you're going to read that and go, what the heck is happening in this book? It's dark romance, so check content warnings. The next book that I read was Stolen Heir. I read this on KU. Absolutely loved it. I could not wait to start the second book. This follows Nessa, who is the daughter within the Irish mafia family, and then it follows Miko, who's the leader of the Polish mafia. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, which means the Beast, being Miko, captured the beauty, which was Nessa. Genuinely one of my favorite books. I loved it. I thought the story between Nessa and Miko was really good. So Miko is the unemotional person. He does not tap into his emotions. He's almost a vampire, like you would have thought, potentially, that he's a vampire. And he turned off his humanity. Nessa is this sweet angel ballet dancer who is a really good dancer. And the way the dance scenes are written, you would think you could dance. You're thinking, oh my gosh, she's so talented. I could do that. You know, the whole like my toxic trait is thinking that I could perform a whole ballet number. You're gonna think that after you read this. This is another dark romance book, so check the content warnings. All in all, I really did love this book. I thought the character arcs for both characters, they both go on a self-discovery journey, and it was wild to see the differences between their characters in the beginning of the book and the end of the book. And then the last book that I read was Frigid. This was a spicy, cozy, palate-cleansing romance book to kind of break up the dark books that I was reading. I would say that this one delivered on that. It follows best friends Sydney and Kyler, and Sydney is hopelessly in love with Kyler, and Kyler does not notice her. So then they go on this trip. It's an annual winter trip to Kyler's family's house. And their friends are going to go with them, except their friends are driving separately. And of course, no one checked the weather, naturally. And there's a snowstorm that snows Kyler and Sydney into the house and does not allow for their friends to make it up there. But it is the forced proximity trope. It's very good for a palate cleansing winter read, and I think it's a good one if you want a winter book that's not holiday themed. Sometimes holiday books are hit or miss. This one I would say you could read anytime during the winter and it would be a really good winter book. Back says, no one could replace me in his life. I knew that. I was the friend who knew everything about him and whom he trusted above everyone else. And I think their dynamic was really good. I did like how it was written. I like Jennifer L. Armentrout's writing. I actually have some of her books right here. They're fantasy books, and I want to read her fantasy books because she put some plot twists in this, and I was like, what? There were some parts I didn't expect to the point where I had to reread it, and I went, am I illiterate? I'm thinking, did I read that right? Did those words change? I'm like, also the cover is super cute. And there's a second book called Scorched, which I also plan to read. So yeah, that's January. And how many books did you read this month? And I hope you all have a great February reading month.